So in this fifth section, I'm going to talk about predictive project management. And in this fifth section, it covers two subsections. The first one is the scope, followed by time. So I'll start off by talking about project scope management first. So, so what is scope in project management? All right, in a project, what is the scope? Actually, scope are all the work required in order to complete creating an output. An output can be a product, it could be a system, it could be a service. All right. Basically, work include the work required to produce a product, that particular product. We call it as product scope. All right. And we will also have related management scope, which includes doing the planning work, management work, execution work, and monitoring work. And this type of work, we call it as management scope. And altogether, management scope plus product scope, we call it as our project scope. Now, let us take an example. Assume we have a building construction project in a metropolitan area. We know that building is actually our product. All right. In a building, we can define our product scope. We can define our building, how many number of ground floors we need to have in this building, and how many level of how many levels you want to build in this building. And then in each building, how many apartment or how many offices we want to build on each floor. That will be our product scope. We are defining what are the requirements, what are the specifications, okay, inside our product. All right. And and that all work involved in building, okay, the work which is directly related to building that product is called product scope. But there are many management related work. For example, planning where to build the house, planning for budget, planning for human resource, planning for product, raw material procurement. All right. And then managing the communication, managing the workflow, executing the work, the plan work, monitoring the progress of the, that building construction. All this is called management scope. Okay. This type of work are required in order to ensure, okay, the complete creation, the successful creation of our product. So in short, product scope include all of our management scope plus our product scopes. Now, let us look at scope. All right, project management scope. We know that in this section, we are talking about predictive project management. We know that in the predictive project management environment, scope can be planned and can be predicted. All right. And according to the PMI, all right, Project Management Institute, which is a US-based non-profit professional organization in the area of project management professionalism. All right, it defines project management scope. Okay, they define project scope management to consist of 6 processes. This first process is called plan scope management. And in this process, what we are going to do is to develop our project scope management plan. A plan that will help us, for example, if I'm the project manager, okay, to know how to manage our project, how to manage project scope, how we're going to define our project scope. And this document, this plan, okay, plan is a document, it's a guidance, okay, which is going to also tell me how I'm going to validate the scope in the future and how I'm going to control the scope in the future. So in short, in this first process, what we are going to create is a plan of project scope management. In short, we call it as a scope management plan. Okay, and inside this plan is going to tell us how we are going to manage the scope of our project, and how to define scope, how to validate, and how to control. And then the second process related to project scope management will be collect requirements. All right. As we can see from the building, okay, building construction, the construction project, we have requirements, right? So after we have a plan here, then we start to do the work, the management work of collecting requirement from the stakeholders. All right, it could be the project owner. All right, and then it could be collecting requirement from the project customers. All right, so we in this second process, we are going to collect requirements from all the stakeholders involved. All right. And then in the third process, it's called define scope. Here, what we are going to do is to develop a detailed description of the requirement that we have collected in the process, in the prior process, right? The prior process is collect requirements. So in the subsequent process named define scope, we are going to develop a detailed description of what each of that requirement is. All right. And then in the fourth process is called create work breakdown structure, or WBS. WBS is actually a detailed description, even a more in-depth description of the scope in our project. In short, our work breakdown structure will actually describe the subdivision of our project deliverables. All right, in this work breakdown structure, what we actually do is we try to break down our work or project work into smaller piece of work. All right, we break our project work into a more manageable component, right? So that we can assign the work, so that we can manage the work, so that we can control the work. And then the fourth process involved in our project scope management is called validate our scope. We will do scope validation once we once we try to create our scope. After we create our scope, okay, we will try to validate. Validate is actually referring to formalizing the acceptance of the completed project deliverables, right? Whereby you will have the user try to evaluate, try to confirm, right, and accept the completion of the deliverable. This is what you mean by validate. And the sixth process here is called control scope. Control scope is actually meant to ensure that the scope in our project does not creep. All right. We try to ensure that the progress of our project scope is within the predefined scope. Okay, the initial approved project scope, we call it as scope baseline, right? So control scope is the process for monitoring the status of project and product scope and managing the changes. Well, if we encounter a case, for example, whereby changes must be made, all right, then we will go through the change control process, okay, integrated change control process, and then the must change or modification will be incorporated, and then it become our new scope baseline.